Alright, so had the old GMC out hauling firewood and burned up the transmission. So, in the process of putting a manual in it right now. I've got the transmission out, the torque converter's still on the flywheel. I gotta pull that, or the flex plate rather. Gotta pull that. But I got the clutch pedal mounted, and it actually wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it would be. It's probably too dark to see up under here, but I don't have those top bolts put in. They go inside the dash and there's no holes for them. So we'll see how it does without them. If I have to, I'll tear the dash apart and figure out how to get some put in there. Otherwise, if I don't need them, then I'll run without them, at least for now. Eventually I'll be building a new engine for this thing anyway. But here's the push rod for the master cylinder. There was a dimple and a couple of, well, a circle and then two dimples. You just had to drill them all out for everything to fit. I took the cruise control module off to get it out of the way, and I disconnected the bulkhead fitting for the fuse panel and punched the fuse panel out so that I had more room to weasel that throttle or clutch mounting bracket in, and then just stuck it back in there. It wasn't very. That was probably the worst part about it because it's full of like a butyl tape, kind of a. It's like a black butyl, nasty stuff that doesn't want to. It doesn't want to come apart. I wonder why it's not focusing. Having some issues focusing. Oh, sorry about that. At any rate, eventually I'll be building probably a turbocharged 350 or something like that for it. I don't want to change the ignition, and a lot of people have said, well, guys at work and stuff have said, well, why don't you just build an LS motor? Why don't you build an LS? Well, yeah, that's great, but then I gotta figure out the fuel injection, which, you know, that's not terrible. But it's just more than really I want to do right now. I mean, it's more than I want to do, period. I mean, this isn't going to be a race, you know, it's not going to be a race engine. I don't need 500 horsepower out of it. You know, I'll probably only build one to get 350. But the turbocharge really is, you know, that's the way to go. That's the future. So, that's what I've always wanted to do it. So I'll probably just build a Vortec 350 and just use the factory TBI and do some modifications and put a turbo on it. I kind of want to. These old TBI trucks, I think, in my opinion, were horribly underrated anyway because, well, they had such restrictive heads in them that trying to meet emissions that people just never really saw their full potential. And I kind of want to prove that they can actually be a pretty outstanding engine if you just, you know, fuel system. They're extremely simple, they're reliable, and cheap. So the longer I think about it, I think that's probably where I'm going to go. But who knows? I've changed my mind about a half dozen times. Anyway, yeah, so this was the 700 R4 that I built for this truck. Pretty sure I posted video of it, but maybe not. I'm not really sure. But last fall I bought this truck and the transmission was out. In fact, that's why I call it Sucker Punch, because I bought it at an auction. They said it runs and drives. Well, yeah, it drove, but in second gear only. So luckily I had planned to tow it home rather than on a dolly, rather than actually drive it home, because that would have really monkey wrenched everything. But so I ended up rebuilding it, and lasted about a year, and I burned it up. I was hoping it would last a little longer than that, because I planned on putting a manual in it anyway, just wasn't quite ready to do it yet. So at some point I'll have to tear that transmission apart and find out exactly what failed. My My suspicion is that the torque converter unlocked because I was on the highway pulling a lot of weight with a bit of a headwind, I believe. And I don't have a tach or a transmission temp gauge in this. I should have had both, but I didn't have either one. So I didn't know that it unlocked, but I think it did. And then it just overheated and probably warped the bands. But I lost all forward motion and all reverse motion, really, for that matter. And then once it cooled down, it would kind of move forward and still not really move backwards. So I'm sure that's what I did, was scorch the bands. Probably warped them so they're not grabbing the input drums anymore. But my main shaft was supposed to show up yesterday and it didn't, because apparently the knucklehead FedEx driver couldn't find my address. In his defense, I am kind of a remote rural property, but we're out here on the plains, you know. It's, if you can't find the address, you know, it's one of the few on the road. There's only, you know, 4 or 5 on this road, so, you know, you drive down the length of the road and you don't, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so I went out and marked it a little better, so it's glaringly obvious that this is my address. So we'll see if he shows up this evening, or if they don't show up, then I'm gonna tell him, make him hold it and pick it up tomorrow at the location, because I gotta go into town anyway, and I can't afford to wait another day, because it's gonna be a busy weekend anyway. But anyway, I guess I'll pull the torque converter and flex plate off and have a look at the rear main. Yeah, I wanted to show you this real quick. Let's see if we can find it and look. Good thing I rebuilt it. That's the main input bearing right there. Brace is all galled up right there. So it only would have been a matter of time. We got her most of the way assembled now. It's just a couple more things to put on. I have a PTO somewhere out in my storage that I'm gonna grab and see if it will fit on here. Not so much because I wanted to run it on this one, but because I want to run it on my dually. So we'll see if it's the correct PTO. More to come. Alright, so my new main shaft showed up. Fresh new splines on that one. Compared to that one. See how worn they are? Alright, so I'll get that reassembled in the morning. Start reassembling it in the morning. Hopefully I can get it all done fairly quickly and have her ready to stuff in. Tomorrow afternoon I gotta run to the courthouse and get tags and several different things, and get a title transferred for the little Subaru, and get started on the title for that Hudson. That's a 52, I think, according to serial number anyway, it's a 52 Hudson Hornet. So we'll get started on that. It's going to be a long process to get a title for it, I'm sure, but it needs to be done because I'll be restoring it, and it's probably going to take me 5 years, but I'll get it. More to come.